There's a moment in every warrior's journey when the true enemy reveals itself, not outside but within, not the opponent, not the struggle, but the silent whisper in your mind that says, "You're not enough." That voice is ancient, it's shaped by pain, habit, memory, and if you're not careful, it becomes your master. In this teaching, I will not ask you to fight your negative thoughts. I will show you how to face them the Shaolin way, with stillness, not struggle, with clarity, not chaos. In the temple, we are taught something very few in the modern world understand. Thoughts are not truth, they are movements in the wind. And the first step to mastery is simply seeing them as they are. But this kind of seeing isn't passive, it's powerful. To name your thought is to hold it in the light, and when you observe it without judgment, it begins to lose its grip. Many believe control means suppression. In Shaolin, control means presence. It means staying rooted while the storm passes. It means using your breath as your blade, your awareness as your shield. In this video, I will share with you ancient practices, some passed down through silence, not scripture. The kind of wisdom that doesn't just calm your mind, but rewires your relationship with fear, doubt, and anger. By the end, you will not only understand where negative thoughts come from, you will learn how to stop being ruled by them. This is not theory, this is inner warriorship. Welcome to the Shaolin Soul Fire. Subscribe now and walk the path with me. A fire only burns out of control when no one is tending it. The same is true for your mind. Many people come to me saying, "I want to get rid of these thoughts. Anger, jealousy, fear, shame." But I tell them, these aren't weeds to be ripped out. They are signals, and if you silence them too quickly, you miss the lesson they're trying to teach. In the Shaolin tradition, we learn to read the energy behind the emotion. A sudden spike of anger, that's often the voice of a boundary crossed. A wave of sadness, maybe it's grief that never had space to speak. Even laziness, that heavy fog, it might be your body's cry for rest or your soul's protest against a path that doesn't feel true. Negativity is not the enemy, it's a mirror. And the moment you stop taking it personally, you start learning from it. The monks are taught this early. When your thoughts grow sharp or dark during meditation, you don't flinch, you don't fight. You sit with them, you trace them to their source, not to feed them, but to understand. This is why we say use your thoughts as data, not drama. Don't build stories around them, don't turn them into identities. Just observe, let them speak, ask, what is this showing me? Where am I out of alignment? Sometimes the answer comes quickly, other times it comes in silence, days later, like a soft echo returning from the mountains. But it always comes if you stay still enough to hear it. This is the discipline, not to escape the darkness, but to walk through it with your eyes open. The mind is like water. Try to punch it and your hand sinks. Splash wildly and all you do is stir more chaos. This is what happens when you resist your thoughts, especially the ones you don't like. Fear, doubt, shame. The more force you use to push them away, the more power they seem to gain. You feed them by fighting them. In the temple, young disciples are taught this through breathwork. Not just how to breathe, but how to remain with the breath even when discomfort arises. When the legs go numb, when the mind screams to move, they're told, don't resist it, don't react, watch it, breathe through it. In that moment, the lesson isn't about posture, it's about presence, how to sit in fire without burning. The same principle applies to thought. The moment you say, I shouldn't be thinking this, you've already begun the struggle. Now you're not just feeling anxious, you're anxious about being anxious. You've created 2 layers of tension instead of 1. But if you stop resisting, something shifts. You notice the thought and let it be, like a cloud moving across the sky. No judgment, no holding, just noticing. And with that space, the energy begins to fade. Not because you crushed it, but because you stopped feeding it your attention. This is what inner mastery looks like. Not controlling every thought, but no longer being controlled by them. Let them come, let them go. You stay steady, like a mountain under passing storms. That's the discipline. Not dramatic, not easy, but powerful in its simplicity. It's how the mind becomes quiet, not by force, but by allowing, by watching and letting go. 1 breath at a time. A monk once sat beside a river for 7 days, saying nothing. When asked what he was meditating on, he replied, I was learning the difference between the water and the one who watches it. That is the essence of this practice. The thoughts in your mind, they are the river, fast, noisy, sometimes muddy, but you are not the river. You are the one who watches from the shore. Until you realize this, you will always be swept away by the current, believing every thought, reacting to every wave. Shaolin training begins with this understanding. Before strength, before technique, awareness. The disciple learns to step back from the mind and witness it, not to stop the thoughts, but to see clearly. This is a thought, it is not me. That distance changes everything. When anger rises, you don't become anger, you notice its shape. When fear whispers, you don't follow blindly, you observe its voice. This doesn't numb you, it sharpens you. You begin to choose your response instead of being ruled by habit. In meditation, this is practiced hour after hour, breathing, watching, letting the mind wander, then gently returning. Over time, something shifts. You stop identifying with every emotion, every story. You begin to rest in the space behind them. The witness, the one who sees but is not shaken. This is not escape, it's mastery. You still feel everything, but now you are not tangled in it. Like a mountain watching clouds, you remain grounded while the sky changes. That inner stillness becomes your strength. Freedom doesn't come from controlling the river. It comes from remembering you were never the water, you were always the watcher. In the early hours before dawn, the temple is silent. The only sound is breath. Dozens of monks sitting in stillness, back straight, hands resting, eyes lowered, not sleeping, not drifting, just breathing. This is where training begins, not with kicks or forms, but with the body sitting like a mountain and the breath flowing like wind. Before a warrior can master his opponent, he must master his breath, because breath is not just air, it's attention, it's presence. In Shaolin meditation, the breath is the anchor that holds the mind in place. Thoughts may come, but they pass like birds across the sky. The monk does not chase them, he returns again and again to the breath, to the rise and fall, the in and out. This rhythm becomes his center, and the body, still grounded, amplifies that focus. Movement stirs the mind, stillness sharpens it, so the practice becomes a discipline, body unmoving, breath steady, awareness clear. Over time, distractions fade. The noise within begins to settle, like dust in a quiet room. This is not relaxation, it's precision, a kind of inner sharpening. You begin to notice the small tensions you've carried without realizing: the tight jaw, the restless fingers, the shallow breath. And as you release them, energy returns to the body, calmness returns to the mind. This union of breath and stillness isn't just for the cushion, it becomes the foundation for everything else. Whether walking, training, speaking, your awareness rides the breath, your body becomes the ground. You're no longer scattered, no longer chasing every thought, you're centered. That is the quiet power of this practice. Not loud, not visible, but deeply stabilizing. Like roots beneath a tree, it holds you firm no matter what storms pass above. In the courtyard of the temple, there's an old stone with a smooth groove carved deep into its surface. Not by force, not by tools, but by the slow, steady drip of water over many years. That's what discipline looks like in the Shaolin way. Quiet repetition that changes everything over time. The same applies to training the mind. People want instant peace. They expect one meditation to silence years of noise. But the mind doesn't work that way. Just like the body, it must be trained gently, daily, without skipping steps. Even 5 minutes of focused breathing each day creates change. At first, it may feel like nothing is happening. The mind will wander, the body may ache. But beneath that restlessness, something begins to strengthen, a kind of inner muscle. The part of you that can stay with the breath even when the world pulls at your attention. Shaolin monks aren't born with this ability. They earn it through practice. Day after day, sitting in stillness, walking with awareness, returning to the present moment again and again. Not because they feel like it, but because they've committed to it. That's the root of mastery, showing up, even when it's not dramatic, even when it's not convenient. And over time, you'll notice the shift. The mind becomes less reactive. Emotions come, but they don't flood you. You become more stable, more awake. Not from trying harder, but from practicing deeper. That groove in the stone, it wasn't made by effort. It was made by consistency. Let your breath be the drip of water. Let your attention be the practice. And let time do its quiet work. This is how resilience is built. Not in bursts, but in rhythm. Not in moments, but in devotion. In the Shaolin tradition, the mind and the body are not separate. They are different reflections of the same energy, qi. When your thoughts are heavy, scattered, or restless, it is not just the mind that suffers. Your whole system feels off balance. You may feel tired without reason, tense without cause, or emotionally clouded without understanding why. The old masters taught that negative thoughts are more than psychological, they are energetic disturbances. Like smoke in a room, they obscure your clarity and block the natural flow of life force through the body. But here's the truth, you don't need to force them out, you need to clear the space within. Shaolin meditation is a form of internal cleansing, not just of the mind but of the energy field around it. Through stillness, breathwork, and focused presence, the energy begins to settle. The blocked places where emotion or tension has been stored begin to open. It is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is as subtle as a single deep exhale after years of shallow breathing. Monks often speak of the body as a vessel. When it is full of unresolved emotion or chaotic thoughts, it cannot hold peace. But when it is emptied through regular practice, something ancient returns: stillness, clarity, power. Not the kind of power that dominates others, but the kind that holds steady through anything. This is why meditation is not treated as a break from life. It is a vital cleansing ritual. Like sharpening a blade before battle, the energy becomes pure, the mind becomes quiet, and you move through the world with a calm that isn't shaken by circumstance. One breath at a time, the smoke clears. Not because you escaped the chaos, but because you purified the space where chaos used to live. A single candle may not banish all darkness, but it changes the room. In the same way, a single wise thought can shift the entire landscape of the mind. In the older Buddhist teachings, especially those studied in silence within the temple walls, there is a method for dealing with troubling thoughts, not by force, but by understanding. The steps are subtle, deliberate, and deep. Each one sharpens your awareness, strengthens your discipline, and builds the resilience of the inner mind. First, replace. When the mind offers a thought rooted in anger or craving, gently place a skillful thought in its place, something grounded in compassion, patience, or truth. Not to lie to yourself, but to give your mind another direction to move toward. Second, reflect. Ask, if I keep feeding this thought, where does it lead? What is the outcome of letting it grow? Often just seeing the end of that path is enough to wake you up. Third, withdraw. Like taking your hand away from fire, you can pull your attention away from thoughts that cause harm, not by running from them, but by turning inward, reclaiming your energy. Fourth, go to the root. What is this thought trying to protect? What wound is it growing from? This step takes honesty and stillness, but if you find the root, the thought begins to loosen. Finally, subdue, not with violence, but with wisdom. Over time, with practice, the unskillful thought grows weaker, the good mind becomes stronger, and the deeper clarity replaces the old reaction. This is not a shortcut, it's a path, one that must be walked again and again. But each time you walk it, the mind becomes less chaotic, not because the world has changed, but because you have trained yourself to see clearly, respond wisely, and stand steady within. There is a moment in every sparring match when thinking becomes a trap. The instant you pause to judge, to plan, to hesitate, the opening is gone, the opponent moves, and you are too late. That's why in Shaolin combat, the highest state is not aggression, it is emptiness. No resistance, no clinging, only flow. This is called wuxin, no mind. It is not the absence of thought, but the absence of fixation. Thoughts may pass like clouds, but you do not follow them. You do not get caught in the loop of should I, what if, why me. The mind is clear, the body moves, the breath flows, and action arises on its own, direct, appropriate, unburdened. To the outside world, this may look like instinct, but it is not instinct. It is deep presence, forged through practice. A mind that has learned to let go, moment by moment, until nothing clings, not even the desire to control. Monks cultivate this through hours of movement meditation forms, breathing, stillness, not to perfect the shape, but to release the noise, to move without commentary, to sit without inner narration. Over time, the chatter softens, the judgments lose their sharpness, and what remains is space, spacious mind, spacious body. From this space, action becomes effortless, decisions feel obvious, there is no conflict between what you sense and what you do. You stop fighting the moment and start moving with it. No mind is not emptiness in the way people fear, it is freedom. Freedom from being pulled in every direction, freedom from being ruled by the past or the future. It is the still point in the center of the storm, where all movement begins and ends, without effort. In this state, clarity is not something you search for, it is something you return to, quietly, again and again. There's a reason the monks bow before and after every form, every sparring match, every lesson. It is not ritual for ritual's sake. It is a reminder: strength without virtue is dangerous. Power without restraint is chaos. In the Shaolin tradition, discipline is never just physical, it is moral, it is spiritual. This balance is known as Wu Dai, the code of martial ethics. It teaches humility, respect, loyalty, integrity, and the righteous use of force. A Shaolin warrior is trained to master his body, yes, but more importantly, to master the intent behind every action. Negative thoughts are not handled through brute suppression, nor are they ignored in passive silence. They are confronted with clarity, not reaction. The discipline is to see them clearly, measure them against your values, and act from principle, not impulse. If anger arises, the question is not, how do I get rid of this? But is this anger aligned with righteousness or ego? If fear appears, the inquiry becomes, am I protecting life or avoiding challenge? This is why Shaolin training includes both combat and meditation. One sharpens your instincts, the other purifies your mind. Together they form the root of inner mastery, strength in service of virtue. Young disciples are taught early, just because you can strike doesn't mean you should. Just because you feel something strongly doesn't make it true. There must be space between emotion and action, thought and choice. In that space, Wu Dai lives. So when a dark thought comes, meet it like a true warrior would, not with panic, not with violence, but with steady eyes and a grounded heart. Ask what it wants, ask what is right, then move, not from emotion but from alignment. This is the higher path, not reaction, responsibility. When a snake shows its fangs, a trained monk does not panic, he observes. He watches how it coils, how it moves, where its attention lies. The danger is real, but panic clouds judgment. Observation reveals truth. The same principle applies to negative thoughts. They often appear sharp, hostile, overwhelming. But beneath the surface, most are rooted in something softer. Fear, grief, or some old pain still echoing in the body. Anger may be protecting a wound. Doubt may be guarding against disappointment. Even harsh self-talk often begins as a failed attempt to stay safe. Shaolin practice doesn't encourage suppression. That would be like burying a burning coal under the floor. It still smolders, still sends up smoke. Instead, we're taught to sit with the heat, to get close enough to see where it started, not to judge, but to understand. This is not a soft path. It takes courage to face the source of your pain without flinching. It takes humility to admit that beneath pride might be shame, beneath control might be fear. But once seen clearly, those hidden roots begin to loosen. The monks call this transforming poison into medicine. By understanding the signal within the thought, you no longer see it as an enemy. You begin to ask, what is this teaching me? What part of me needs healing, not silencing? In this way, every thought becomes a messenger. Even the darkest ones carry information. They show you where to look, where to grow, where to let go, and over time, your relationship with your inner world changes. You stop being at war with your thoughts. You start learning from them, not by indulging them, not by fearing them, but by facing them fully and walking through the doorway they quietly guard. The real test of inner discipline isn't how still you sit in meditation. It's how you carry that stillness into the noise of daily life, into the way you speak, the way you move, the way you meet others. Every moment becomes a reflection of your training. Shaolin wisdom was never meant to stay on the cushion. It's meant to live in your breath as you walk, in your presence as you listen, in your hands as you work. True mastery is found in the ordinary, how gently you wash a cup, how fully you listen to a child, how calmly you meet your own mind when it turns against you. When you serve with awareness, when you move with integrity, when you give without losing yourself, that's when you know the teachings have taken root. Not as theory, but as a way of being. So let your breath guide you. Let your thoughts come and go without force. Let your actions speak of inner peace, even when the world is not peaceful. That's how the practice becomes real. Thank you for walking this path with us. If this teaching spoke to something in you, like the sound of a bell ringing far away, stay with it. Practice a little each day, and you'll feel the shift. Subscribe to Shaolin Soulfire and join a growing circle of calm minds and steady hearts. Until next time, move gently and stay present.